The night the song was born, the city was drowning in rain, and Aarav stood on the edge of the terrace, wondering when love had become something he only wrote about and never lived. Below him, traffic lights bled red and green into the wet streets, and above him the sky felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. He had written dozens of melodies for other people's romances, but his own heart felt silent, tired of waiting. Just as he turned to leave, a soft voice floated up from the stairwell, humming a tune he had once abandoned halfway. He froze. No one else knew that melody. That was the moment love knocked on his door. Not gently, but with a truth that demanded to be heard. Aanya had never planned to be there that night. She was a lyricist who believed words could heal what the world broke, but lately even her words felt fragile. She had taken the stairs to clear her head after an argument with her parents about a safe career, a predictable life, and a marriage they believed should happen soon. Music, they said, was uncertainty dressed as a dream. As she hummed to calm herself, she felt someone behind her. When she turned and saw Aarav drenched in rain and emotion, something shifted. They didn't speak at first. They didn't need to. The unfinished melody connected them like a thread pulled tight across time. Their first conversation lasted hours. They talked about childhood fears, about the pressure to succeed, about how love in songs often felt purer than love in real life. Aarav confessed that he was scared of writing one last song that would prove he had failed. Aanya admitted she was afraid of loving someone whose life was as unstable as her own dreams. Yet, as dawn crept in, fear felt smaller. They exchanged numbers with hesitant smiles, not knowing that this simple act would begin the most difficult and beautiful journey of their lives. Love didn't arrive like a festival. It came quietly, in shared teacups, late-night messages, and long walks where silence felt safe. Aarav composed tunes, and Aanya wrapped them in words that felt like confessions. Slowly, the city around them became a witness to something real. But reality has a way of testing even the purest feelings. Aarav received an offer to work with a major label in another city, a chance he had waited years for. The catch was simple and cruel. He had to leave immediately, with no guarantee of return. Aanya smiled when he told her, but her eyes betrayed her. Distance, she knew, was where promises went to weaken. They tried to be brave. They promised calls, messages, visits whenever possible. At first, the distance felt manageable. Screens glowed with each other's faces, laughter crossed borders, and new songs were born out of longing. But slowly, cracks appeared. Missed calls turned into misunderstandings. Silence grew heavy. Aarav was consumed by deadlines and expectations, while Aanya battled loneliness and the constant question of whether love could survive being postponed. Her parents saw her sadness and pushed harder for her to choose stability. Love should make life easier, they said. Why does yours look like pain? The breaking point came on a Valentine's Day that felt colder than winter. Aarav had promised to visit, but a sudden contract issue kept him away. Aanya waited in the cafe where they had first talked for hours, watching couples celebrate what she felt she was losing. When the message finally arrived saying he couldn't come, something inside her broke. She didn't reply. She went home, packed away her notebooks, and decided that loving someone should not feel like disappearing piece by piece. Months passed without them speaking. Aarav threw himself into work, achieving the success he once prayed for, but every melody felt hollow. Fame could not replace the warmth of a hand he no longer held. One night, while cleaning his old recordings, he found the first tune Aanya had hummed on that rainy night. Without thinking, he began to write. The song poured out of him, filled with regret, hope, and an unspoken apology. It wasn't about winning charts, it was about truth. Meanwhile, Aanya had started teaching music to children, trying to find purpose in helping others dream. She smiled often, but the smile never reached her eyes. One evening, a student played a new song on the radio, a song that felt painfully familiar. As the lyrics unfolded, Aanya realized it was their story, their pain, their love. Tears fell freely. The song wasn't asking for forgiveness, it was offering understanding. Aarav returned to the city quietly, without announcements or expectations. He went to the same terrace, the same stairs, hoping fate would be kind once more. When Aanya arrived, called there by a note left with her student, the air felt heavy with everything unsaid. They stood facing each other, older, more tired, but still connected by something unbreakable. Aarav spoke first, not with excuses, but with honesty. He admitted his failures, his fear of choosing love over success, and his realization that a life without her was only half-lived. Aanya listened, her heart racing. She spoke of her loneliness, her anger, and her decision to protect herself by walking away. She admitted she still loved him, but love alone was not enough without courage. Silence followed, long and fragile. Then Aarav took her hand, not to promise perfection, but to promise presence. He said he was ready to fight for balance, for a love that grew with life instead of being postponed by it. Their reunion was not a fairy tale ending. It was a beginning built on understanding. They chose each other, knowing challenges would return, knowing careers would demand sacrifices, knowing love required daily effort. But this time, they chose honesty over fear. Together, they finished the song that had started everything, not as a memory of pain, but as a celebration of resilience. When the song released as a Valentine Special Romantic Song in 2026, it wasn't just a love story, it was a reminder that love is not about perfect timing, but about choosing each other even when the world pulls you apart. Aarav and Aanya stood side by side at the launch, not as flawless lovers, but as two people who learned that real romance is built through patience, communication, and the courage to return when walking away feels easier. The city outside still rushed, rain still fell, and challenges still waited. But in the middle of it all, two hearts beat in rhythm, carrying a message for anyone listening. Love will test you, distance will question you, fear will try to silence you. But if you listen closely, the right song will always lead you back to where you belong. Morning light entered their lives differently after that reunion. Aarav woke up with a strange mix of peace and fear, the kind that comes when you finally have something real to lose. Aanya, on the other hand, felt hopeful but cautious. Love had returned, yes, but scars do not disappear overnight. They met every day, sometimes to talk, sometimes just to sit quietly. Silence no longer hurt, but it reminded them that trust needed time to breathe again. The biggest challenge arrived sooner than expected. Aarav's label wanted him to relocate permanently. They praised his emotional depth, the honesty in his music, but business had no patience for personal complications. When he told Aanya, her smile faded for just a second. She had heard this story before, the fear of history repeating itself wrapped around her heart. This time, instead of arguing or walking away, she asked one simple question. Where do I fit in this decision? Aarav had no immediate answer, and that honesty hurt more than any lie. Aanya faced her own battles. Her parents, seeing her reunited with Aarav, worried she was choosing uncertainty again. They reminded her of sleepless nights, tears, and broken promises. They wanted her to settle, to choose a life that looked safe from the outside. Aanya felt torn between being a dutiful daughter and a woman who had finally understood her own worth. For the first time, she spoke firmly. She told them that safety without happiness felt like another kind of loss. Her voice trembled, but her resolve did not. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure grew heavier. Aarav struggled with guilt, feeling responsible for pulling Aanya back into chaos. Aanya struggled with doubt, wondering if love alone could survive practical realities. One evening, after a long argument about the future, they found themselves standing apart, anger and exhaustion filling the room. Words were sharp, emotions raw. Aanya accused Aarav of loving his career more than her. Aarav accused her of not understanding his dreams. The fight ended with tears, not slammed doors. That night, they both realized something important. Love was not the absence of conflict, but the willingness to stay even when things felt uncomfortable. The next morning, Aarav made a choice that scared him more than failure. He asked the label for flexibility, fewer projects, and time to build a life where love and ambition could exist together. It was a risk, and the response was uncertain. Meanwhile, Aanya decided to publish her poetry online, sharing her truth without fear of judgment. Slowly, people began to listen. The label eventually responded with conditions instead of rejection. Aarav could stay, but success would come slower. He accepted without regret. Anya's writing found an audience that resonated with her honesty. They were not suddenly rich or famous, but they were real, standing on ground they had chosen together. Their song became more than a melody. It became a promise to face life side by side. As Valentine's Day approached again, they stood on the same terrace where everything had begun. This time, the city lights felt warmer. Aarav played the finished song softly, and Aanya listened, tears shining in her eyes. It wasn't perfect, but neither were they, and that was the beauty of it. They had learned that love is not about grand gestures alone, but about everyday choices, mutual respect, and the courage to grow together. The chapter ended not with certainty, but with faith. Faith that love, when nurtured with honesty and patience, could survive storms. Faith that two imperfect hearts could create something timeless. And faith that sometimes choosing love does not mean losing yourself, but finally becoming whole.